Okay, folks, so today is the 6th of October 2023, and as you can see, I've got the dashboard torn apart here on my 2011 Ford F-150. This is an FX4 truck, so it does have a center console with a the floor shifter. And the reason I've got this thing tore apart today is because the blend door actuator has shit the bed on me for the third time since I have owned this truck. It's removed right now. It bolts on here and here, and then this is where the output shaft of it goes onto the blend door right here. Anyway, I bought this truck new. It's an 11 model. So the original actuator failed quite a few years ago, and then I bought a replacement one on eBay, which was probably some garbage from China. Put that on, and it worked for a little while, and then it failed actually quite some time ago. And I'm just now getting around to fixing it because I did manage to get the blend door over on the cold setting so I could run the air conditioning this past summer, but the winter's coming and I'm going to be needing the heat, and so I needed to fix this. And so what I decided to do today, rather than replace the blend door actuator again, was to make a modification. So here is the actuator torn apart. I don't know if you can see this little pinion gear here. All the teeth are stripped off of it. This was the last gear in the stack that would twist on the output shaft. And if you'll notice here, I have made a modification. So I I disassembled the servo, obviously, took the output gear and shaft out, and did a little bit of studying and figured out how long this lever needed to be, and figured out where it needed to be indexed on here, because this shaft does have a master spline there, and so it'll only go in one way, and so you need to pay attention to that. And then I have fashioned this actuator rod out of a door latch rod from a mid-90s Corvette, of all things. And so I'm gonna show you how this is gonna work. And when I get through, I'm gonna have 100% reliable manual control of my blend door in my pickup. All right. Let me set the phone down here for a minute and see if I can. Okay, so now you can see I have complete control of this blend door with a mechanical rod. And that rod comes out of the dash right here, and it will come out through the cubby hole in this trim piece right here underneath my cigarette lighter plug. And when I get through with this, I'll make me a new fascia plate to fit in here, probably out of a piece of aluminum sheet, plate, something. Drill a hole in it, and then that rod will stick through it, and I'll put a knob on it, and then I just need to push it in or pull it out to change my temperature in the dash. And I have already conducted a test to see if the rest of the equipment functions properly with the blend door servo removed. So I removed the HVAC control unit from the center console fascia there, and plugged it in and turned the ignition on, and cycled it through all of the settings, and everything works like it's supposed to. It doesn't have any fits because the blend door actuator is unplugged, and so I was very pleased to make that discovery. I'll probably make another part to this video after I get this all put back together and finished out to show what it looks like. But man, I am excited that this is going to work out and I won't have to work on this stupid thing anymore. If you own one of these trucks, I think 2009 to 2014 is the model year range for this style. If you own one, you've probably had to work on this before, or paid somebody a lot of money to do it for you, one or the other. And so it's a pain in the ass. I'm not going to go through all of the other processes that I had to go through to get this all apart here. There's dozens of videos on YouTube that people have made that show that process and how it works. So if you want to know how to get this apart, just search it elsewhere on YouTube. I just wanted to show what I was doing here to convert this to a manual control. Something else I wanted to talk about is why this needs to be done. And in all of these videos that are on YouTube where people talk about changing out these actuators, nobody has hit on the real reason why these things fail. They fail repeatedly. Everybody always blames it on the potentiometer, the little range finder that is part of the servo. And it's simply not true. The reason that these fail is because there's a poor design of the blend door arrangement. That blend door has like a rubber wiper that fits all the way around it on the inside of that plenum. It's either rubber or foam. It's been a while since I had one of these apart, but what happens is when they get a little bit of age on them, that rubber material gets a little harder than it was when it was new, and the grease dries out that's in the shaft bushings, and the amount of torque that is required to twist that thing increases exponentially with a little bit of age. And so when these things get some age on them, the servo just isn't robust enough to operate these things, and eventually the gears get stripped out, and then that's how the potentiometer gets torn up. And it's because once the gear teeth break and the other part of the gear train advances to a range that it doesn't normally go, then you start tearing up the potentiometer and all sorts of things happen. Everybody seems to be overlooking that, but this is what causes the problem. And you know, if you're motivated enough, you could completely disassemble the dash, remove the plenum, take the blend door assembly apart, and modify it so that it doesn't fit so tight in there, and so that it turns a lot easier. And then you could put it back together with a new actuator, and it should work fine. But getting this thing apart is a nerve-wracking process. I'm not going to do it. And so this is my fix. It'll be manual, it'll be reliable, and I won't have to mess with it anymore. So, to be continued. Okay, here's another little tidbit. I'm proceeding to put this back together, and you can see I've made this made that little bracket right there, that little L-shaped bracket that bolts to one of the bosses where the original actuator attached. And the only purpose that this serves is to keep the shaft and the lever mechanism that I've installed here from coming up out. You know, this thing is just stuck down in there. I don't think that it would have come out anyway, but you never know. You get on some rough terrain bouncing around, it might find its way up out of there. So I decided to make a little bracket there to keep that from happening. All right, moving on. Okay, moving on here. Put this back together. Something I wanted to mention. If you have an 09 to 14 year model truck, like this one is, this is an 11, and you have a console floor shift like this truck has, you'll find this arrangement in the FX series trucks and above, like a Lariat or a King Ranch. The upper models, Platinum, they have the center console. The lower models, like an XLT or an STX or an XL, it's going to have a column shift. What I'm about to discuss here does not apply to the column shift trucks. Anyway, this piece of trim right here that goes next to the radio fascia, you cannot completely remove this one or the one on that side unless you, let me start over, I fat fingered the phone. So you cannot remove this piece of trim completely like I have here unless you remove the entire center console. And the reason for that is because right here is a little clip that's part of the center console, and then beneath that little clip on this structure, which is part of the dash, there is a screw that originally went through the bottom of this piece of trim. And as you can see here, I have cut it. I've cut it off with a sharp razor knife. This is a little shortcut. Unless you are interested in removing your entire center console, the only way to get this piece of trim off is to do that, or you can take a razor knife and cut it like I have here, and then when you put it back together, it still has a clip right here on the back side that's very close to the bottom edge. It's still secure. The area that I have cut will be hidden behind this piece, and nobody is to the wiser. And then moving forward, whenever you need to remove your radio fascia, you can simply remove this whole piece of trim right here pretty easily. Another trick is this screw right here. There's this little bronze colored screw, 7mm head, screws into the dash right here. And in order to get to that screw, you have to remove the passenger side airbag. I personally don't think that screw is necessary. You can put it back in if you like, but I'll probably leave it out when I put this back together, because you can still remove this with the airbag installed. Otherwise, you have to remove the glove box in order to get to the 3 screw holes here that hold the airbag in place. My airbag is laying back there. But just some little details that you might not be aware of. Okie doke. Okay, this is all back together like it's supposed to be, with the exception of my little modification here. Obviously, this is not finished out, and I probably won't get this finished out today because I have some other things I got to do today, but it's functioning. I have full control of my blend door. Now, people are probably going to make fun of me because this looks wonky right now because it's so long, but when I get finished with it, it won't be this long. I'm going to make a blind wall that's going to go in here. It'll be countersunk somewhat, and then I will cut this unnecessary length of this rod off and push, find a knob that I can push onto this piece of rod, and then it'll be nice and tidy, and it's going to work good. I'm looking forward to not having to mess with this anymore, and also having better control of my blend door. Ever since I had this truck, I don't think it has ever really gone all the way closed in order to give me full access to my coldest air when I'm using the air conditioning. It's already working better. So I'm excited. Thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a comment if you think this is a good idea, or let me know if this is something you've already done.